have a connection. Let's flow. Let's connect and flow. Welcome to the shift. This is the space that was created with intention. It was created with care and lived experiences. Before we move into part 3, I want to share this, the end of my part 2 that I didn't get a chance to share with you. There were seasons in my life when I worked for at least 3 major companies and 3 smaller ones. I stayed a long time in each one of them because they did value my work. They respected my quality. They trusted my follow through. At least on paper, everything looked stable. But internally, inside me, I often felt stressed in their chaotic environment, consciously being concerned about their constant urgencies, their last minute changes. Their crisis mode was their culture. And I didn't always know what to make of it. Sometimes I wondered, and I really wondered hard. It made me cry sometimes. Does this mean I'm not built for this? Does this mean I should quit? Does this mean I'm supposed to start my own business? All these questions swirled. And sometimes the honest answer was, I didn't know. Because feeling stressed in a chaotic workplace doesn't make it automatic that you should leave. It doesn't make it automatic that you should stay. That's where discernment started to come in for me, taking those moments and going internal. I had to start asking myself deeper questions. I couldn't wait for somebody to ask the questions for me. Not surface questions, not ego questions, but embodying questions, questions that I could get answers to and actually use the answers. How does my body feel when I wake up? And what is it thinking about when I'm going into this environment or about to go into this environment? Do I feel stressed or strained? Am I challenged or constantly depleted? When I imagine building something on my own, does my body feel expansive or anxious? I get to ask, is this my stress coming because it's trying to show me growth, or is it showing me where my misalignment is? These questions were easy. No, they weren't easy to answer because sometimes the answers weren't quit or stay. They were somewhere in between. Sometimes the answers were build more structure where you are, strengthen your boundaries, stop over pleasing, stop over performing. Sometimes the answer was you're learning something here that will prepare you for what's next. And sometimes, just sometimes, the answer was for me, it may not be time to transition, but it doesn't mean it's not time to have acceptance help you with clarity. And it wasn't instantaneous. It gave me courage to sit in the questions long enough to hear myself honestly. And I think that's why I want people to understand that feeling stressed doesn't automatically mean that you're a failure. Feeling tension doesn't automatically mean you're in a wrong place. But ignoring what your body is telling you is trying to communicate to you will always lead to deeper misalignment. At least it did for me. It might not for you. Acceptance is not about reacting. It's about just listening. It's about listening to your wiring, listening to your energy, listening to your expanded awareness of what expands you and what drains you. Whether you whether you're an employee or an entrepreneur or a veteran CEO, whether you're a parent or a partner or a friend, this process is the same. The result is different. You get to ask yourself, is this environment stretching me or if it's straining me? Am I growing or just enduring? You get to ask yourself and then wait for an honest answer. The divine will give it to you. Listen to your body. Even sometimes waiting is uncomfortable, but the answer is honest for you and what eventually will lead you to the right place at the right time, not through fear, not through ego, not through competition, not through comparison, but through discernment. Your discernment. It's about you building the decision that will last for you until situations and circumstances become the catalyst to change you again. So let's put this in real time, the law of acceptance. The law of acceptance invites you to just pause, go inside, gives you a break from reacting, from stepping into the cosmic predictability of reaction. It allows you to pause in the chaos. It allows you to pause in their structure. And it allows you to ask an embodying question of yourself. What is my body telling me? What is it trying to reveal to me? Am I really wired for this? What is acceptance trying to give you opportunity for? You get to ask yourself, does this mean I get to it? Here's I'm not giving you advice so that you excuse poor leadership or you excuse unclear expectations or you excuse unhealthy conversations and environments. I'm just saying that within those situations and circumstance, you ask you a question instead of listening to people point at you and tell you their interpretation of you. For me, it meant I had to be willing to observe my experience before I did the fight, flight, or resist. I had to feel the tenseness of me walking into a space that I wasn't comfortable in and listening to my body. Not somebody help me explain away the tension, but give that tension value because the value of it was going to teach me. Not turn it into a positive, but look at it and say, okay, what is this trying to teach me? Or where is this about to take me? Right? Why do I feel overlooked when I was in meetings? That's what I had to ask myself. Because that meant I felt undervalued and I had to address it. Why do I feel drained before even getting up in the morning and getting dressed to go to work? You get to ask yourself, why do I feel exhausted? And I'm only an hour into it. Right? This is what clarity or acceptance of yourself helps you with. Right? So When I closed last week on part 2, I closed kind of early because my body was telling me I was exhausted, and a cold was moving through my body, but I was listening to my body, even though, hey, I showed up. But I left you with this. Maybe the 411 comes back to you being aware about you. Not just conscious, but conscious and aware that you matter, right? So as we move on to, I'm having a upload here. So as we move on to my, hold on a second. I'm having an upload on, because I've got to have my notes, right? Always got to have the notes. And hold on. Okay. Okay. Um, the law of accountability, right? This is what we're talking about now, right? It's not about blame. We have been taught in this society, this human society, that we get to blame everything on everybody else. Every situation, every circumstance, every conversation on everybody else, right? Accountability begins with you when you start accepting yourself and your responsibility for you. I'll give you an example. I have a roommate. My roommate is a family member. I love her very much. Situation and circumstance that we moved in together was uh, only supposed to be really temporary. And that temporary has run its course because in the vibration of siblings, she's the older, I'm the middle child. I believe, I don't know for sure, because I believe her perception is she thinks her half of the rent puts her totally in charge. And to me, my perception is she's not very kind. I unconditionally love her. I just don't have to like the things that she does or says to me, or the way she treats me. There's no blame there, because when we started out, we both knew that the situation was going to be simply short, and we allowed it to go a lot longer than it should have. Okay. No blame, because if we start placing blame, we'll never see where we, or I can only talk about I, need to go from here, right? Being accountable is not about punishing yourself. So me being accountable for why I thought this was going to work, or and there is a whole backstory behind that of me thinking that I was doing something, you know, uh, supporting, but I was supporting when she didn't need the support, or nor she thought she, my brain was in the past as a 13-year-old little girl, seeing all the things that she uh, uh, didn't get to do because she was helping mommy, you know, while mom was at work, right? So my assumption was that she needed me to rescue her when she didn't. And what was there to appreciate? She didn't. She never thought about that because her perception and my perception about the past are two different things. The relationship right now is active from different perspectives. The law of accountability says I can't make her accountable. I can only work with me. In order for me not to be stuck in resistance, I had to figure out where, when, and how it's time for me to move. It has nothing to do with her. Being accountable is not about punishing myself or my roommate. It's not about pressuring myself, but it's about empowering me. What about this whole situation is teaching me or pointing me in a new direction? I use that, right? Accountability actually begins, again, I say it, I'm going to keep saying it, with acceptance of yourself. It's not about acceptance of dysfunction. It's not about acceptance of being mistreated, but acceptance of reality as we're in it right now. What is the situation trying to teach us as an employee, as a manager, as a supervisor, as a CEO, as a mom and pop owner, as a first time owner? And you're dropped into a situation. What's it teaching you? Right? Acceptance is about reality. Acceptance is, what is this? You get to accept whether you want to be an employee or not. Somebody says you shouldn't be an employee, you need to own your own business and blah, blah, blah. Here's the thing. Stop a minute. They may be saying that because they think everybody should own their own business and not work for the quote unquote man or the big corporations. But not everybody is meant to own their own business, nor do they want to. And that's perfectly all right. It's perfectly acceptable for a person who wants to work for a company that they believe is doing good or extending an open a helping hand or giving back to the community. It's okay for people who want to work and get paid in a timely manner and not struggle with trying to make ends meet with the business or 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 wanting to work with uh, having to monitor employees. It's okay. That's acceptance of reality. Accountability says, given what is, how will I move? Given what is, how will you move? Right? And then how will you be accountable for that? Accountability says, I'm taking responsibility for how I've decided to move. Accountability. I'm not leaving it to anyone else. I'm not saying it's someone's fault because I got here. I made some choices. I took this job because I thought it was best for me. Or I took this job because I just needed the money. Or I took this job because somebody said, you really got some talent and you didn't do the follow through. It's okay. If you've done the acceptance and you're in the law of follow through, you're in the law of accountability. You've accepted yourself and everything that comes with all the choices that you ever made. Now you're becoming accountable for them. And that really works out in, like we said, your soul doesn't take a back seat when you get ready to go to work. It comes along with you. It's learning about the law of acceptance. It's learning about the law of accountability and how you interact with it. Right? If we skip our acceptance of ourselves in our situation, circumstance, in the conversations, then what happens is we can jump straight into being reactive, blaming, resisting. Those are fear stages. We can get stuck in them. I knew I did. The shift isn't about pretending we were never there. The shift is not about pretending that I'm super perfect and I'm here to tell you that I am. And these are all the things that you need to do because I got my fingernails done and my hair done and blah, blah, blah. No, it's about telling you I've been through it. It's about telling you it didn't feel good. It's about telling you it's about work within you, and then not only acceptance of you, that you're worthy to know that you can make a bad choice, as you might call it, and then move and figure out how to work from that to step into something better. Instead of somebody telling you you got to live forever in the blame of making that choice. Right? The shift is about us moving through, for me, moving through that choice that everybody else looked and went, oh, why did you do that? Right? I mean, just moving through it and going, yeah, why did I do that? Let me think about that a while. Let me sit with it. Let me ask an embodying question of it, of me. Let me put my egoic self on the spot. And when I mean on the spot, I mean in the chair with the light on it, about to learn something new about myself. Okay? Every single one of us move through situations and circumstances, and conversations differently. My way is just billions upon billions upon billions of infinite ways to make a choice, to grow and expand. My path is uniquely mine. Your path is uniquely yours. So if you want to be an employee, you get to ask yourself, what type of employee do I want to be? There's infinite types of employees. Do you want to be a first-time owner of a business of a house, of a car? Well, you get to ask yourself, what type of owner do I want to be? What kind of car do I want to have? What type of house do I want to have? What type of business do I want? Do I want? Do I want to serve the community, or do I want to, do people's taxes? Do I want to have employees, or do I want to work alone? There was a time when I blamed leadership for not seeing my value. It's not about blame, it's about being accountable. Now that I've gone deep inside me, now I understand. I have to stand up and be accountable for myself and start asking my embodying questions about why they didn't see my value. Because I remember telling myself, if they recognize me, I would thrive. I was making them accountable for me not thriving. But at some point, I I had to pause. I had to ask, I had to go within and ask that question. That became my accounting 101, my business 101. I had to start asking, do I fully see myself? What kind of employee? I'm here, regardless of the reason why I started working in the accounting department, regardless of all those reasons, regardless if that wasn't my first choice of being in the employment field. Doesn't matter about me making other people accountable for why I was in the work the accounting industry. It was about me making myself accountable for why I was there. And then that way I could start seeing, what, Sandy, what do you really want? And then when and I had some really beautiful supervisors and managers who saw that I had this ability to manage. But if I didn't see that, how could I be that? Some of them saw value in me, but maybe they weren't great at articulating that value. But as soon as I started asking those questions from within, then not only could I see, oh, that's what they meant, then I could see how to apply it, because they couldn't apply it for me. Now, I'm not saying that everybody has these great supervisors. I had some really funky ass supervisors and managers, right? I'm going to share a story with you. I had a supervisor who believed she could take everyone's information. When she was hired, um, before she was hired, our accounting team worked directly with the CEO. Then he decided that he had a lot on his plate and he wanted to hire a manager. But his choice of what a manager should be doing was not about having good managerial skills and managing people. He just wanted the skill of somebody who could do spreadsheets. And this was the truth. In our evaluations, when we went through the vetting process and everything, and at that particular time, the team got together to interview and listen and whatnot. And even though the team told them that they prefer the other person who had great skills sets in managing and had some great recommendations and everything, she did not have a lot of spreadsheet um, compilations. So he went with the one who had no background, or background in managing. Okay, that was his choice. What are we going to say? Right? But so what she did is, to compensate for her not knowing, she would take everybody's information or whatnot, presented it as her own, giving no one credit for the work. So we looked like we weren't doing what we should have been doing. And she just wasn't managerial material. And she knew it. Matter of fact, on her door, she had a little saying, wicked bitch. And, when we would come in, that's the first thing we'd see. So that's the position she took over everybody. At that time in my life, I was just learning about how to use my voice. I didn't know anything about throat chakra. But I remember one day telling her respectfully that if she didn't know anything about AR ledgers and the reports that she needed to know about, that she could attend a seminar that just like the rest of us were doing, or go back to school like the rest of us were doing, that she could learn about the accounts receivable ledger, that she could learn about accounts receivable calls, that she could learn about the spreadsheets and how they really work, right? She didn't, of course, she didn't receive it well. And maybe I didn't present it well. Instead, what she decided to do was teach me a lesson. She decided to send me to an 8-hour seminar, right? Where there were all managers. I was the only employee or subordinate or whatever you want to call me, right? When I went to that seminar, I think I was supposed to be there. I think that's the plan. It started my little internal questions, right? It began to open my mind. I absorbed everything. I took notes, I asked questions, I learned so much about how to approach my work. And when I went back, she asked me how it was, very smugly, expecting me to be very negative. And I told her, thank you so much. That was so insightful. I enjoyed it and I learned so much. But see, I meant it. She thought I was going to give her a negative kind of vibe. That was the moment that I realized I had to experience things from the inside out as opposed from outside in. And for the employees listening to this, accountability does not mean staying in toxic or in toxic environments. It means asking yourself. I had to ask myself, have I clearly communicated my expectations? Even going deeper than that, do I know my expectations? Do I know what skills I need to upgrade? Do I know what position I want to go to? Do I know what the next level is? Not just knowing that I don't like my supervisor, but do I know me? Once I stopped making her responsible for me having just a bad day at work because she's just the wicked bee of the West in accounting, and shifted to me being accountable for me, accountability is not submission. Accountability is preparation. It helped me be prepared for the moment that I had to sit in my CEO's office when they found out that she wasn't as smart, because she eventually, and I will talk about this in the next episode, um, and it prepared me for sitting down with him and actually answering his questions without pointing the finger at him. There is something else that I want to address. Sometimes we think that the problem is employee life. We think, if I were my own boss, been there, done that. If I were my own boss, I'd just be free of all this bullshit. If I had my own business, no one could limit my time. I could come and go whenever I wanted. I don't have to wake up at 6 in the morning to, drive to work, 2 hours in traffic to get there for 8 and then clock in. Ding. But accountability asks you a deeper question. Are you trying to build something, or are you trying to escape from something? Because if you're leaving a job without developing accountability, you will be recreating the same patterns in your business. A business does not fix insecurities, just like a baby will not fix a failing marriage. Right? A business will magnify insecurities if you haven't dealt with the insecurities within you. It'll reveal it real fast. If you struggle with communication as an employee, you will struggle with communications as a business owner. If you struggle with communication as an employee, you will struggle with communication as moving up to manager. If you avoid feedback as an employee, you will avoid data as a business owner. The role changes, the responsibility increases, accountability travels with you. Accountability travels with you. There were moments when it felt easier for me to blame the system and the structure and even the environment. Yes, external conditions exist. I'm not saying my situation at work didn't have real things that existed and people who were just not nice people, just out to get what they needed to get at the cost or expense of the people they manage or the people they work with. But the breakthrough for me came when I stopped asking, "Why is this happening to me?" Everything's happening to me. I had to start asking myself, "What is within my control to change right now?" That first question, I was asking it while I was sitting in that seminar, realizing this is the best thing that's happened to me. 8 hours, I get to learn all this information. I get to learn how to communicate. I get to realize that it wasn't always about, it wasn't I wasn't miscommunicating. It was that I needed to learn how to communicate better. Had to learn how to take the blame out of it and kind of free throw it into the garbage can. In today's world, it's easy to gather up the blame tools, to stand on the platform of blame, the algorithm of blame. They teach us that. Who teaches us that? Whoever you can call society, the government, the schools, whatever, the church, whatever. I'm not going to have a label for you. You got your own labels. It's easy to say something is blocking your visibility or limiting your growth, but accountability will have you ask, "Am I consistent?" It'll have you ask, "Well, am I clear? Am I refining? Am I patient? Was I consistent? Was I clear? Was I refining? Was I patient?" And entrepreneurs, this is for us too. If something isn't growing, the first question you get to ask is, why aren't they seeing me? I'm doing the marketing, but why isn't anybody walking in my door? You get to have to ask the questions. Am I refining my message? If the message isn't working, am I changing it? Do I need to go back and study my craft? Do I need to go back and look at what I'm trying to sell, my product? Do I need to sit down and look at my product and have it vibrationally link up with me so that I can fine tune who my audience or who I'm trying to sell this to. Study my craft. Build my, go inward and build my systems. What systems do I need? What aren't working for me? Understanding my metrics. Accountability is not only about being accountable in the conversation of person to person or colleague to colleague, but it's also about accountability in business, in the data, you being self-aware and not in your ego when you're trying to make these things happen. For those of you in building a business right now, especially if you're still in the red, it's about you being accountable with the data information that you have about why you're in the red, not criticizing yourself about it, actually being accountable so that you can start moving pieces around. It's called strategic awareness. You get to ask yourself, is my pricing aligned? Is my pricing aligned with my values? Is my marketing clear? Am I solving real problems? Or am I emotionally attached to an idea that I can't let go of because it really doesn't work anymore, but I can't let go of it because I'm too emotionally attached? Those are for questions for people who have taken on their shops because their parents left it to them to build. Is this really what you want to do? It may be what your parents want you to do is finish what they started, but is that really what you want to do? Being in the red doesn't mean you're failing. Your revenue is feedback. Your systems are mirrors. Your growth is measurable. These are conversations that your company or your business is vibrationally having with you. Sometimes accountability is about pivoting, not getting or quitting, but pivoting. Sometimes it means simplifying, not expanding. Sometimes it means being patient. Sometimes profitability is not about what your business is about. Sometimes it's not being profitable isn't the passion. What's your passion? Sometimes profitability is just about positioning. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Then there's a deeper layer. Other people's opinions. Other people's opinions. And everybody's got one. A friend of mine calls them notions. Everybody's got an opinion or a perception of what they think you should or shouldn't do, or what they think, or of what or who they think you are, and if you can do it or not. Right? Hmm. Someone is always saying something about me. If soul awakening conversation is really gonna go where how far I think it's gonna go, if it's gonna be um, um, affluent around the world, you should just give up now. Or they've got the opinion that if I ain't making money, then why are you doing it? If you're not monetizing, why are you doing it? Everybody's got an opinion. Someone says something about you and it lands in a way that stings. Just because they said it doesn't mean it's true. But accountability, the law of accountability invites you to ask a question. And I had to start asking questions. Why does that trigger me? Is there something here for me to examine? Not me trying to find their proof, but go, let me map out that plot of information that they're trying to share with me and see where they got that from. What are they visualizing in what I'm doing? I don't need to go back to them and ask them. I need to go within and ask me. Is there something here for me to examine? Or or is it just simply someone else's perception? You get to ask it, not to shrink yourself, not to overcorrect yourself, but to understand yourself more fully. Sometimes blame feels relieving. You blame other people. Accountability can feel so empowering when you bring it back to you. Because what happens is you can't control other people's perceptions, but you can control you as an employee, or as a entrepreneur, or as a first time buyer, or as a first time mother, or as a first time anything. It's about you. Law of accountability says, here, put it in your hands. You get to control the preparation. Responsibility is heavy until you realize it comes with authority. And then when you take that responsibility back and put it into your driver's seat, it's not as heavy as you thought it was. It's malleable. You can create with it. See, I found that excuses protect my ego. My Ego didn't like me being accountable for me, even as an employee. That every time I stepped into a meeting with my boss with the spreadsheets that I put together, I knew what the spreadsheets meant and what questions were going to possibly be asked, even if my supervisor or manager or whatever she called herself didn't know. I was responsible and accountable for me. Leadership begins long before the title. Blame says, they did this to me. Accountability says, what is this revealing to me? That's what I had to learn. I can laugh about it now, but it was not comfortable. There's I learned 3 stages of accountability. Reaction, this shouldn't be happening to me. That's a stage. Reflection, what is this teaching me? And response, what am I going to do next with what I just found out it taught me? But I found that most people live in the first stage, reaction. But growth begins with reflection. Maturity lives in response. And I found out that this wasn't limited to the workplace. It's not just for employees and entrepreneurs and leaders, it is for human beings becoming more. There are nearly 9 billion people on this planet, each of them navigating cultures and systems and governments and families and history and privilege and challenges. Some are navigating survival, some are navigating opportunities, some are navigating healing, and some are just navigating trying to be comfortable. Accountability does not erase circumstance. It does not deny systemic reality. It does not pretend everyone starts from the same playing field. You may not control where you were born. You may not control what you are taught. You may not control what others do or think. But I found that this opportunity to sit at the seat of my soul and ask myself a deeper question: why was I born where I was born? What was I meant to learn? What was my lessons? What was I meant to be taught in this environment? Why are these particular people part of my life story, even though I don't get along with them? I got to ask it. I got to sit at the seat of my soul and ask it not from a place of blame, not from a place of victimhood, but from a place of just, it's okay to be curious. It's okay to be aware. I found that because when you begin asking these questions, something shifts. That's why I call this the shift. You stop seeing, or at least for me, I stopped seeing my life as random. I began seeing it as a series of instructions or instructional life moments. While you may not control every circumstance surrounding you, you do control how you interpret it. And interpretation is power. I found that out. Two people I found out growing up. I have, I'm one of five children. I found out that now, as we adults go back to our childhood and they start reminiscing about their childhood and how it was, I realized I went, really? You saw it that way, right? But what I realized is two people can experience the same event and build two completely different lives from it because of how they saw it, how they interpreted it. One person can build it and build from bitterness, another one can build it and build from wisdom. The event didn't decide, the interpretation did. And I realized, wow, I can, and to control how I responded, because I had to realize at first I used to go, what? You remember it that way? It wasn't that way, it was this way. And then ensue an argument. And always, well, we'll just agree to disagree. But I just realized that I didn't need to respond. I can control how I want to respond to their interpretation, going, let it be so. Because I control how I respond. That is where accountability becomes transformative, or that it became transformative for me in those little pockets of listening to all the how this is how we grew up. This is how I saw my mom. This is how I saw dad. This is how it, and then go, oh, okay. And this is the same way with employee mindset as well. Every person that you work with is going to have a different perspective based on where their mindset is at. Every person is not want to go does not want to go down and be and own a business. Some people want to be employees. Once again, I say the law of accountability is not about you being hard on yourself. It's about you being honest with yourself. It's about you taking these moments to realize that you may not control every situational circumstance, but you do control your participation, how you participate, how you move through the realization is uniquely yours. If you believe acceptance is hard, start small. Accept where you are emotionally. Accept what you don't know yet. Accept that growth feels uncomfortable. Been there, done that. Accept that acceptance is not defeat. For me, it was grounding. I got to start somewhere. I started with me. I found and I started watching grounded people. They move differently. I started seeing that accountability and acceptance is the bridge between acceptance and action. Without acceptance, you resist. Without accountability, you deflect. I found that out. Without action, nothing changes. I realized that I wasn't here to escape my life. Just because somebody told me, okay, don't be an employee anymore, go own your own business. In the next chapter, we're going to talk about my business. Because I did try it. It's growing. I'm starting to have the internal fire for it. But I started realizing that I'm not here to escape life. I'm here to evolve within it. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Take a moment to reflect. Here's an embodying question. Where are you ready to reclaim your influence? What response is within your power today? I had to ask myself these questions. I had to ask myself, where am I placing the blame? Am I ready to reclaim my influence and responsibility for shit that's happening around me instead of just blaming it's oh, life is just fucking with me? I had to ask myself, what response is within my power today when my boss asked me what a question that made no sense? I had to go from the inside out. That rocked my world. If this resonates with you, share your reflections in the comments. Share it with me. Use the space to journal. Journal in the comments. Declare the shift if you're ready to make it. As we close today, this Soulutions Workshop, remember, accountability is not about blaming yourself. It's not. It's about reclaiming yourself. Nobody can be accountable for you but you. It's about shifting from why is this happening to me to how am I choosing to respond while this is happening. It's about moving from the outside to the inside. It's about becoming aware. When I began asking myself those questions, and shit, those questions were hard. I think they made me itch. I can't tell you how it rocked my internal world. Right? But that shaking, or that shaking, the shaking up helped me become more stable in my clarity. Clarity became my freedom. It doesn't have to happen overnight. Change is the only constant in the universe. It's always going to happen. It's not going to happen overnight. You don't have to have every answer today. Just notice where blame feels a little easier. Notice where influence is more available. Notice where your power is quietly waiting for you to claim it, and then reach out and claim it. Pull it into you. If this episode has stirred something in you, share it with someone. Reflect in the comments, like I said, journal. Let this be interactive. Let this be lived. Our next Soulutions Workshop, we're going to explore what happens after the law of accountability, because awareness is very powerful. Ownership is transformative. There is nothing but change that can move you. We'll talk about the universal law of action and why insight without movement keeps you stuck. So until next time, continue to emerge in greater awareness and flow into your next now moment. One love, wholeness and balanced love to you and yours. Thank you.